What's going on, everyone? Welcome to American Family Made. I'm Nicholas Bills, and today we are going to be making these hexagon shelves I've been talking about in the past few videos. So we're making them for my friends Josh and Kelsey, and they're going to be putting it in their nursery. They just had their baby on the 3rd, so congratulations to them. And yeah, I'm excited to do this. So I cut one of the boards down already, and I'm going to cut this other board down to the correct width, and then we'll move it over to the miter saw and cut them down to the correct length and the angle. Alright, so when we move over to the miter saw, I'll talk about the angle that we'll be using. And yeah, so pretty simple on the table saw. All you're going to do, whatever width you want, is you're going to set it to that. For these, I'm doing 4.5 inches for them. You don't want to do it too wide because you got to realize these are going to be hanging on the wall. You don't want them sticking out too far. So we're going to start that, and yeah, I'll set you guys up so you have a good view of me using the table saw. You might see me touch this little kickback blade guard. It's because mine is slightly bent in the back. I don't know how that happened, but it's been stopping the wood, and it happened earlier. I thought I fixed it, but oh, and by the way, so I'm out in Southern California, and we just had a little tiny earthquake again. So apparently there was a 6.4 up in the LA area, and we didn't feel that one, but we just felt the one that just happened. So wasn't too bad, but some people make it more than what it is. So I always wear eyes and ears. Some of my Marine buddies will make fun of me for that because half the time we don't do it when we're shooting on a rifle range or shooting with weapons whatsoever. Like I said, we're going to cut this first board down to the same width as these, which is 4.5, and then we'll move it over to the miter saw. Make sure you guys are not too much in the way. I don't want the camera getting knocked over so you miss what's going on. So, if you look right here, you'll see the kickback on here. Sorry for holding the camera so close to my face. And what this does is catches the wood if it tries to come back in my direction. Now, I did have that off when I first started woodworking because I thought, I don't need it. But then I remember back to in high school, I was in wood shop. I did the same smart ass thing. I took it off and a piece shot back and got me in my stomach, and now I have a nice little scar on my stomach near my appendix. I was very lucky it didn't rupture my appendix, so yeah. So I'm gonna set up the miter saw station and I'll get back right. So got the miter saw station all set up. Had to move it to the workbench just because these pieces are quite long. I was going to cut them down, but then I run into the chance of not having enough pieces. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as it is. I don't know if I said before in the beginning of this video, it's pine I'm using. It's softwood and it's also cheap. So it's not too bad on pricing and whatnot. So I have the station set up. For the angle on this, you have to cut it to 30 degrees, which is what my miter saw is set up. You can do it like this, or you can put the wood up like this, and you can move the bottom of this to 30 degrees. Don't recommend doing it like that. So just recommend doing it like this, a lot easier. I tried both ways, found this to be the easiest way, especially if you're just starting. So what we're going to be doing is cutting these angles. We're going to cut the first angle. I'm going to flip the board over. I'm going to measure 9 inches, put the blade on that line, and cut the next angle. Now that would be our first piece. And after I flip the first one, I'll show you why I flipped it instead of turning the whole board around to make the next cut. So I'm going to set you guys up, and then we'll get started. First, you gotta make sure it's plugged in. That would help. So there's my first cut. All I'm going to do, flip the board over. I'm going to measure out 8 inches on the board, or 9 inches, sorry. Mark. Check it twice. I learned a lot from checking my measurements twice. Find I make fewer mistakes when I just double check the cut. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to find where this matches up with the blade. Matches up with the blade. I'm going to set up these pieces of wood, which I'll show you in a second, as soon as I get them set up. See if I can clamp it on that. So now, instead of me having to go back and measure every time, all I have to do is have the wood meet up with this block right here, and the cuts will be made the same every time. It's on the block. Here's my line for the next cut. So let's make that next cut. And so the whole reason I flipped it over is because if I would have left it the other way, the angles would have been going different ways. But since I flipped it over and made the cut, the angles match and are going the same way. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. Just going to take it forward, flip it over, bring it up, match it with that. Make the next cut. And they are perfectly the same length. So that's a very quick and easy way, instead of having to go back and keep measuring, to put up a simple block, and it will help you out a lot. So I'm going to make the rest of these cut. You need 6 to make one hexagon, so it's going to be a lot of cutting. So probably just going to fast forward through this part and move on to assembling the actual hexagon. So I got my board set up. All here, they're all lined up. As you can see, the angle part's facing down. Now, this part's a little tricky. I looked up how other people did this, on how to glue these together and put them together. And some people were having a lot of trouble doing it. I found this, using duct tape, was the easiest way. Now this is just an example. So we're going to see how this actually is going to go with me putting duct tape on the back of these, flipping them over, putting glue between each crack, and attaching them. So I'm going to set you guys up again. See if I can get you guys at a good angle. Let's see what I'm actually doing. Let's see if I can put this little piece of scrap wood under you. I might have to actually just do it and then show you guys, because I don't have anywhere in my garage yet to set up the camera properly. So I'm going to do this real quick and I'll bring you guys